Bismillah.
Bismillah.
So for the last 5 years, I've been focused on Fatima Azara, daughter of Prophet Muhammad. I probably spend more time with her than I do with Shabda. I have strong inner guidance to write about her, really strong. And I'm keeping her name on my breath and making prayers to her. And I guess you could call it tasawwuri. I have been in the consciousness of trying to understand who she is and what needs to be said about her at this time. So for this Sufi Ruhaniyat Jamiat, I've been looking for poems that reflect details of her life as a practitioner. That's the first part I want to talk about. History calls her Abiha, the mother of her father. Now that's really intimate, isn't it? They were close. She was wise, the moon to his sun. Muhammad was a man of deep attunement, both to Allah and also, you could say, to Angel Gabriel. Wouldn't he teach her some practices? The scribes who wrote the anecdotes and stories don't think about Fatima as a practitioner, but poetry is a good vehicle for such things. So this is a quote from Al-Bukhari, Volume 2, Book 21. Muhammad came to the house of Fatima, her husband Ali, and the children to joyfully give them this message in the middle of the night. Rise from your sleep and pray during part of the night as a free offering, and your sustainer may raise you to a glorious station. That's Quran, Surah 17, verse 79. So this is a ghazal that I wrote, a series of couplets with a rhyming word, intrusion, renewed, mood, and a repeating word, interruption. Interruption, Fatima's story. Night covers me, then laughs, issues its interruptions. I'm jostled by, uncovered by, intrusion, interruption. My prayers slide off with deep fatigue. I wake to Father's knock. He has renewed his interruption. See how he smiles? A people pray. Late night prayers, he means, high in a holy mood of interruption. I kiss his cheek as Ali openly objects. If God wishes us to wake, we wake. An argued interruption. Our children stir, but then, my train of thought pulls sacred words and moves, occluding interruption. As if an eagerness filled everything. I'm held in timeless locomotion's joy. Oh, gratitude, no interruption. So when I was writing this, the way it's put out in the hadiths, which are the sayings, the history, and so forth, they say that Ali and Fatima were so irritated that the Prophet came, and they have these children, and they were exhausted, and he's like, a people pray. And so in the beginning I was like, oh, okay, and then I started thinking, wait a minute, what's the message here? What's really going on with this? What's he doing, and what would be the response, right? So the locomotions. Locomotive starts pulling the words, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, and then she's in practice, and she doesn't know, and there's no interruption. So they write that Fatima and her husband Ali endured great poverty. They asked Muhammad for assistance after modest prosperity was beginning to transform the community. Now we all know this story, right? The Prophet said, and this is from Ibn Sa'd and also from Al-Bukhari, he said, "Shall I tell you what is better than what you ask? Some words of praise Angel Gabriel taught me. Say them each 33 times. So historically, we know this as the wedding gifts. But I've been working with this scholar, Arthur Bueller, for a number of years, and he said, no, the timing isn't right on that. It would have been after they were married for a while, when they had a household and they had a lot to take care of, and war booty in the form of women helpers and extra food and supplies came into this impoverished community. So I call it gift of prayer. Shyly, she asks her father for some aid. Her hands are sore from pulling rope. The blisters she will soak and bind, then grind the grain. She wants a maid. But what if history reads this wrong? Instead, she asks him for a wisdom taste, that names of God may grace 10,000 actions and the blessings spread. Forget the maid. His words can give a hand. Each sacred name contains a light. He's bringing them that night. Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, and Allahu Akbar. Syllables that ring, sing open every lock. That key to realms the angels see and hear. The words, the tongue, the shimmering. So I wasn't going to include this, but I thought I'd see what I felt like. And this is a good one for Fana, because after the Prophet's death, Fatima was relieved of property called Fadak, and it was a gift that Angel Gabriel had told her father to give to them. And that meant that the people in the area that owned these orchards of Fadak, they would tithe a certain amount of fruit to Fatima and her family. And it actually was their only source of income. So it was taken away from her by the first caliph, Abu Bakr, who kind of misunderstood something the Prophet had said and felt, we don't inherit, was something the Prophet had said. So that left Fatima at the mercy of alms. She had no income. So that, and after her father's death, the way people were behaving, according to the Shia, she went to the mosque and gave a sermon. Now the Sunnis don't recognize this. They would never speak of the sermon. But this sermon, I love the fact that she stood up in a mosque and gave a sermon. It's a beautiful story. So I focused on that for quite a long time, trying to think what kind of things, how to put it into a poem, because they have a whole script of 4 or 5 pages of her berating the community for leaving the teachings of her father. And this was the closest thing to just having a poem come through. And it feels to me like she, instead of her giving teachings, she is just empty. She's in this state of fana toward her father, and she is being filled. The sermon. She speaks in the mosque. She hears her voice as an echo of what he used to say, a moonlight reflection. She hears him inside her, warming her chest, her tongue. She doesn't have to think about the words. The heat of the sun that is him dries her tears. She's standing in front of everyone, reminding them of their forgotten loyalty. Revelation's teaching, the truth of prophecy. She foresees the outcome, betrayals, treachery, injustice. Her voice holds him now. Sunset will come and the stars vanish at dawn. You know those moments when the barzakh, which is the space between this plane and the other. You know those moments when the barzakh between heaven and earth dissolves and that dazzling rawness makes it impossible for all but a sweet child or two and those who hold the ancient truths to remember history, to remember anything. I mean, fana is like that, isn't it? I mean, to remember anything. It fills you, and then what? Okay, so as I was studying Fatima, it was really jerked me awake, the fact that her lineage tree is our lineage tree. Did you know that? And she is the person, you have Muhammad, and then you have her, and then you have Ali, and on and down Moinuddin Chishti, and Kahn, and so forth, Murshid Sam, to today. So she is part of our lineage. And I just marveled over that. Most Sufi lineages, except the Naqshbandis, I think, go back through Ali. Is that right, Shepta? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is the lineage poem, the introduction. Lost, it has been lost. The names of women teachers in the tree of Sufi lineage, wisdom passed on from teacher to student back to Ali and his son Hussein. Fatima links centuries of direct guidance from Muhammad, yet neither she nor her daughters nor great masters such as Rabi of Basra are mentioned in the family trees, and only occasionally in scholarly books. The gaff tree is a wonderful desert plant with a very, very long root that's valued in Arabia. And the hudhud is a hoopoe, the bird that brought King Solomon news of Bilqis, Sheba. This tree, and this is in a wonderful kind of dactylic rhythm. Ancestor gaff tree, giraffe tree, oh swing me up into your crow-crowded branches. King tree, shade easy, a climb as you may tree, bouquet tree, the tree with a green kiss of leaves in the sun. Camel and she-calf lay shaded, brocaded by bird branches, splayed in the shade, playing shade against shade in the gravelly sand. Around me, the lineage holders are mounted on twigs with a hudhud, a mayfly, as word swells keep spelling out names, family names, on each branch as I sit here while breezes call Ali, Hussein, then the chain, in Arabic, Turkish, and Persian, and more. But where are the she-mystics, Fatima's wise ones? Invisible. Guides to the green genealogy, whispers of sisters, just nourish us all and churn family butter from roots of the gaff tree. So even though the women aren't in the lineage list, Fatima is adored and looked to for guidance and intercession in the same way as Mary, mother of Jesus. The Shia revere her and Ali in that way. not necessarily the Sunni, but the Shia do. It's even said by them that Fatima's name is carved on the leg of the throne of God, and that Adam saw it and told Muhammad about it. So this poem comes from the careful historical quotes, which my friend Dr. Arthur Bueller translated from Arabic. This was last summer. I went over to Amman, Jordan, and we sat there for 10 days, and he'd pull out volume 3 from the 25-volume biography on Fatima in Arabic. And he'd pull it out, and then he'd start translating, and I'd write it down. The reference, it's called, the man's name is Ansari, and it's the Encyclopedia of Fatima Azara volume. This is from volume 4. Each quote is followed by an elaboration. Her house. The roof of Fatima's house is God's holy throne. Once I could think higher like that, but I forgot how. Twilight and daybreak are structural. I forgot how twilight and daybreak are structural, like breath. I'll read that again. Once I could think higher like that, but I forgot how twilight and daybreak are structural, like breath. A prayer in her house is equal to 1,000 prayers. I know better than to ask you how you know this. Her windows tremble slightly, even without glass. Al-Khidr stopped at the house of Fatima after she died. Khidr stopped at the house of Fatima after she died. He lives on the other side of air. In creations of legend, it's just like him not to leave a trail or exit through a reference. Armies of angels descend on the throne of Fatima's house. You know, I'm reading these things and just going, this is so poetic and beautiful. Beyond what lands there, beyond wings, the roof has a story, the light touch of feet, the 1,000 details of the day. So imagine being honored this deeply, and we in the West have no idea who she is. I mean, our family has read and heard about her, but for the most part, people don't. So central to the Shia adoration is the retelling of Fatima's impassionate sermon, which we talked about. For a woman to speak to a group of men in a mosque is a shocking accomplishment, never mentioned in Sunni chronicles. The Sunni hadith speak instead of her closeness to her father, wifely duties, poverty, hard work, blistered hands. You know, they do, it's actually the horizontal, right? And then the Shia would be the vertical description of her life. Okay, so in the outer world of the present time, we cannot ignore the Shia-Sunni conflict, which is the poisonous river that flows under the terrible state of the Islamic world. I mean, we've talked over this week of the various reasons. And this is another one. The source is division centering on Fatima's husband Ali, who became Imam Ali, the fourth caliph, father figure of the Shia. His 2 sons and he were all killed by those who embraced Sunni views. But that was later rulers. It wasn't the first 3 caliphs, Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman. They were close to Muhammad, and they ruled right after his death. And they understood how to direct a community. They were quite experienced in how to do that, and possibly kept Islam alive because they knew those things. Fatima's is not a straightforward story. It's a family quarrel soaked in lethal bitterness. Islam. I'm going to give you Imam Bilal's definition of Islam. This is will give us all heart in the next days as we go back out into the world. It's from salam, a causative verb translated as the inner state that carries the feeling of peaceful surrender to the protection, safety, and healing of the divine. May all those harmed by cruelty in the name of Islam experience peaceful surrender to the protection, safety, and healing of the divine.